often find that people have a real issue with their ego or the ego. And the ego is something that we have to get rid of, we have to fight, we have to not let exist. And what I call the ego, I call it the conditioned egoic mind. And when we treat it as an enemy, then it actually creates more conflict within us. But what we want to understand is that the conditioned egoic mind is the part of ourselves that our true self utilizes to help manage emotional pain and protect and care for us. So without that, then we can't actually live as humans without an ego. We need a bit of an ego. Sometimes the issue with the ego, though, is it's shaped by our life experiences and learned patterns. And if we don't understand who our true self is, then it's going to take over. But what we want to understand is if we can utilize our true self, it can use it as a tool to survive and live our truth. So the egoic mind identifies with this me, and this me is my body, my thoughts, my emotions, and the personal story I believe about myself. So its goal overall is survival and emotional safety. So it tries to create pleasant or familiar experiences for all of us to form a sense as a form of its own self-love, as a form of self-protection. It loves us enough to try to avoid pain. It loves us enough to try to survive. Whether it's useful for our life or for our true self, it doesn't matter. So the ego itself fears death or dissolution of the me. So it's constantly trying to control every situation and other people, and it's especially trying to control emotions. So that doesn't always align with our true self. We want to recognize, well, this is what the ego does, that's okay, but we want to recognize, well, our true self wants to live more freely. We use this when useful, but not if it's not. So what it does when it tries to control, though, it does that by developing emotional thoughts and resistance behaviors. And it does this in a way to escape emotional discomfort. And these behaviors, as it learnt these things, served a purpose. And the purpose was they helped us feel safer, they met our needs, they solved our problems, they helped us adapt and reduce our emotional pain. And so because of that, the egoic mind is not inherently bad. It has helped us survive, it's helped us function. That's what it's designed to do for us. It's when we overuse these tools excessively or unconsciously, that's when they can trap us in patterns that disconnect us from our true self. So in a sense, they'll provide us short-term relief, but create longer-term suffering and prevent us from knowing what we truly want, prevent us from living the life of our truth. So at the end of the day, the ego strategies will eventually fail because we can't fully control life, situations, or emotions how it wants to. It wants to control everything to feel safe and secure. That's what it wants. So what we want to do is we want to kind of notice when the ego's thoughts and urges align with the deeper direction of our true self. When I feel like acting or doing this way, is that what I truly want deep down? Or is that just what my conditioning is? Because our overall goal is to use the ego as a tool, not as our identity. We want it to support our true self rather than replace it. Often that's what we do. We let the autopilot take over flying everything rather than be the pilot myself. Yes, the plane wants to do that, but maybe this isn't the right weather for that. So to understand that, we have to really understand how our mind works, how our mind tries to control emotions, and it usually does it through two mechanisms. And one is through conditioned egoic thoughts. And so those thoughts might be like things like worry, self-criticism, questioning, even problem solving, anytime we have should-time thoughts, even victim mentality or blaming. Thinkings or thoughts are the ways that our mind actually tries to control things. It also does it through conditioned egoic behaviors. So they're usually external things that we do. So the thinking ones are more internal, then we do external things. So it might be people pleasing to get approval, or people pleasing to feel safe, avoiding confrontation, could be overworking or aggression or controlling situations, could be seeking reassurance or suppressing emotions or avoiding lots of different things. So overall, what our mind's going to do is motivate us to do these things in order to not have pain. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's aligned with our true self. So our true self will know how to please others, but it'll also know when it's right to please me. Our true self will know when it's useful to worry and when it's useful to let it go, when it's useful to solve a problem, when it's useful to just be where you are. So overall, we don't want to get lost in our conditioning, because we want to be able to understand and gently work with our conditioned mind. But what we overall want to do is allow our true self to guide us with the clarity and love. And the more that it does that, the more connected we are and the more peace we have, rather than get lost in the suffering of the ego. But we don't want to eliminate it. We want to utilize it for the true self's greatest benefit in living our richest, fullest life of well-being.